You're listening to Whoa! Potluck.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Books and Boba, a book club and podcast featuring books by Asian American authors. My name is Marvin Yue, and I am coming at you today from the Toronto International Film Festival, where I am covering the festival on behalf of one of our other fellow podcasts, the Collabcast, which I also host. But today's episode was actually recorded a couple weeks ago. It is our discussion of To All the Boys I've Loved Before, both the book and the Netflix movie that's out right now, between Rira and her friends Alice and Catherine Fan Chang. This panel was handpicked by Rira, and they discussed everything from the differences between the book and the movie, as well as their favorite parts of both. So without further ado, here is the official Books and Boba discussion of To All the Boys I've Loved Before, original book by Jenny Han and the movie by Netflix. Enjoy.
Hello, and we are going to talk about To All the Boys I've Loved Before. We're going to talk about the book. We're going to talk about the movie. We're going to talk about pretty much our feelings about the series. Joining me today, we have Alice Fan Chang, an old friend of the podcast.
Yes, I'm back.
It's been so long.
It's very long.
And we also have her sister, Catherine Fan Chang.
Hello.
Who is probably the most ardent fan of the series.
I guess so.
I mean, you read all of the books.
I did.
And, I have not. I've only read the first two.
That's because you just don't have the third one.
I know, I do. When I read the first book, I immediately, on the same day, bought the second book. And I just finished the second book a couple days ago, and now I'm like super mad. I should have bought like all three of them at the same time.
Yeah. I finished the first book a few days ago, or like a few days before the movie dropped, and then I was like, why didn't I put, because I listened on audiobook so that I can listen on the way to work. And I was like, why didn't I put the audiobook for the second book on hold immediately after I got the first book? Because now I'm waiting.
Yeah.
I told our friend to just order all three at once. I was like, girl, you don't want to wait.
So, like, I guess I just want to talk about, like, our general impressions of the series, because I, like, immediately fell in love with it. I just like immediately fell in love with this concept of love letters being shipped out to your crushes. It's like a high school nightmare.
It's the worst. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't expect to be like so into it, but it just was like immediately engaging.
Yeah.
I think it's just really sweet.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. Like the concept's really good. And then, you know, it could have been like super fluffy. I mean, it is, but like it could have been like really like something that I'm not into, but for some reason it just grabs you immediately and you're just like, man.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of books that take place in high school because like I'm in my late 20s now, and it's like very hard for me to connect to a protagonist who's like 16 years old.
Right.
But like I don't know. I like really liked Laura Jean. I thought she was like really quirky and funny, and just like I could just picture her so clearly in her vintage clothes and like her baking cookies.
And she's just like so relatable, you know? Like I don't know. Like I just feel like oh, like I could know someone like that, or I could have been someone like that, you know?
Yeah.
I know. Catherine. She started reading the series as it was getting popular. How did that feel?
Well, so I'm not really like the biggest reader, but what happened was I think I basically in the summer I was like, okay, I should probably like not just watch TV all the time. I was like, maybe I'll just like read something. So Alice obviously like loves books. She knows all of the things happening or coming out, whatever. And she would like randomly always give me suggestions. And so I remember I told her, I was like, I just kind of want something like fun. I don't have to use my brain. How I describe it is like watching like a CW show. Like, you know, like I just
Those are the best, by the way.
Yes. So, you know, it's just like, I just want to like something fun like that. And she was like, oh, well, I heard like Jenny Han has this book coming out, and it sounds like it's kind of cute, and like maybe it's like something you might want to look at. And I think before that too, she told me about her other series she did. Was it Burn for Burn? I don't know if that's the first one, but it was also like a 3-parter. And that one too, I got interested in because she told me that it was like about these 3 girls, and apparently like they are just like trying to like take down the school or something, like stuff happens, you know, like it's like girls, like angry girls.
Mean girls.
Yeah, but not
angry girls.
Yeah. And I don't know if they were necessarily all mean, but definitely like angry girls, right? And like one of the girls was Asian. So I was like, oh, cool. Like, I'm down to read that. So I was reading those, and I was also reading them when they weren't all out. So I was also like waiting for them to come out.
It's like reading Harry Potter, and you're just like, I was like, what's gonna happen next?
Yeah.
I have to wait a year.
Yeah, and obviously I do not have the best memory, so it's like I finish the book, I wait a year, it comes out, I'm like, crap. Like, what happens at the last one? And it's like I didn't own them, you know, so I'm just like, oh god. So anyway, I think after I finished that, I think probably the series was coming out, and so I was like, let's do this.
Yeah, so I have to ask, Team Josh or Team Peter when you were reading the book?
Definitely Peter.
Peter from the very beginning?
I think so.
Yeah, I agree.
It took me a while to get used to Peter, actually. Because, like, he seemed such, like, like a jock.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the typical jock that, like, everyone loves. And I'm just like, ugh, like...
Yeah.
It's like this archetype. How am I going to actually cheer for him? Because obviously he's going to get Laura Jean. He's going to get the girls. So
right.
Like, I hope I can like fall in love with him. But then I I think maybe like page 100, I was like, oh no, I'm in.
I love him. Yeah, I feel like it was from the beginning. I can't, like I said, my memory is bad. I read it a long time ago. But I feel like I think, yeah, there's reservations at first, right? Because obviously it's a fake relationship when it starts out. You couldn't obviously predict that people are going to get feelings. But I just feel like when I was reading it, he did seem like a typical jock. But then there's like something else, you know? Like he's not like just a jock. Like he's like a sweet boy. That's what it is.
I think what it is that like he takes care of Laura Jean so well because Laura Jean is, you know, she's 16, she's never dated anyone before, and like he seems to respect that. And I guess it comes with like being in a fake relationship. Like they have that contract, which is adorable, by the way. It's like classic rom-com like element there. Like he like respects her boundaries, but at the same time he's like slowly challenging her. It's just like, it's like you need to come to parties. Like you need to like support me at my lacrosse games. Like and it's like really nice because I feel like Laura Jean in the book, she's kind of like sequestered herself into her home. Mm-hmm. And like I think that's probably because of her mom, right? Like her mom passed away, and you know Margot, she goes to college, so she really doesn't have anyone to really lean on. And before Margot left, she kind of always had this support system in her family, so there was really no need for her to like make new friends.
Yeah.
I mean, that was another thing too, like the whole like middle school to high school transition. Yeah. Like friendships change, and you know Genevieve used to be her BFF, and it's just like a classic middle school story.
Right. And now she's her nemesis. Yeah.
Were there any particular scenes that you liked in the first book? Because I was talking to Alice about this the other day, and we were saying how the antique sale scene should have been in the movie, but it wasn't.
I think, I would agree with that. Just because I feel like you like learn so much more about each character, and it's just a nice way for them to bond.
Yeah, it's like a long scene of them by themselves. You know, it's like the two of them go off to like this like antique or estate sale or whatever. And I feel like that's like they're not like around their peers, or like it's not really like related to school. So it's like kind of nice to see basically them doing like a fun activity, like a date, but like without the context of like doing it in front of like
Other people.
their peers, you know?
Yeah, where they need to like make it seem like they're dating, even though,
Yeah.
this was just like them being them.
Yeah.
I mean, it was totally a date. She like packed sandwiches in like parchment paper.
Yeah.
And she like dressed up at like the estate sale
Right.
and like she got all these like pretty dresses and it's just like, yeah, it was like such a nice scene and I'm like really sad that they didn't include it in the movie.
Yeah. I mean, I know we're not really talking about the movie yet, but that was like one of the things I wish there was more of in the movie, which was just more like I felt like I wanted at least one extra scene of just the two of them before the whole ski trip stuff. Because I feel like there was enough. Obviously, I think it was a great movie, but I was also like, man, I just want more.
I mean, for me, because I saw the movie before I read the book, like I already knew like the major beats to the story, right? But since the book is much longer, obviously, I was like, when is this gonna happen?
Yeah.
Like
No.
the letters were sent out, but they're not in a fake
Yeah.
relationship yet. Like,
Yeah.
when is it gonna happen?
I was also same because I also saw the movie first before I read the book, and it's kind of like I was surprised because in the movie you get enough setup of like how Laura Jean is with her sisters, and then Margot goes to college. But in the book, it's like I remember thinking like, wow. We like the letters aren't even out yet. Like Margot has not left for college yet. Like there's a lot more development of that relationship, which is good because her sisterhood is like important. But yeah, like that was one of the surprising things too. Like I guess pacing expectations of the book was different.
Yeah. I mean, it's really weird because the movie was definitely like a rom-com movie. Like
Yes.
it's about her and like these two guys that she has a crush on and
Right.
like develops like different complicated relationships with. But the book, I would say it's more like a book about sisterhood. And the
Yeah.
romance is kind of like the icing on the cake, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the thing with me because I really love the sisterhood between Margot, Kitty, and Laura Jean. And actually, like, there's a lot of chapters with Margot in it.
Like the beginning is like a lot of Margot. You really get like their dynamic, and like I guess how important it is, which is like why in the movie, I mean, again, I guess we're not really there yet, but
It's okay. We can go wherever we want. This is our podcast.
but yeah, like it's kind of like some of the big like fight scenes and stuff that happen at the end. It's like more intense in the book because there's like a bigger foundation for the sisterhood and like I guess like their expectations and about the relationships between each sister and like roles in the family and just things like that. So
Yeah, definitely. Because you learn very early on that like Laura Jean's mother, she passed away because she fell, like she was cleaning and
yeah, like
she
a freak accident.
Yeah, she like slipped, hit her head, and she was lucid. And she called like her family, saying like, "Oh, I hit my head, but like I think I'm okay." And then when Margot gets home, she's the one who finds
Right.
her mother, and she's the one who calls 911. And then after the death of her mother, like Margot is the one who's taking care of everything. She's cooking, she's making sure her dad like is able to come home comfortably and not like worry too much about the sisters. And once Margot goes to college, a lot of that responsibility is shifted to Laura Jean. And of course, like she's not the same person as her sister.
Right.
So like things are going to change. And that's kind of like the foundation for why that fight at the end of the book happens.
Yeah.
Because like Margot comes back for Christmas break and she comes back to a home where everything has pretty much changed and has been functioning somewhat okay without her. And that's kind of like, it's just like, oh, I guess my family never really needed me.
It was like, it was more like the fight that they have at the end is more, there's like more elements to it. Which makes
it's not her yelling at her sister being like, you like my ex-boyfriend? Like, how dare you?
It's like there's an element of that, but then there's like all this other family stuff going on too, that feeds into that. So like I know like we kind of talked about this, but that part of the book was like really surprising to me because it was just so intense. Like it was just one of those things where I was like, I don't know if they can come back from this. Whereas in the movie, I'm like, oh, okay, like they're fine.
I mean, if that sort of thing happened to you two, like, would you be like,
I don't know.
they're like glaring at each other.
Who knows? It could happen. You don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
What about Josh? Because a lot of obviously the movie didn't really go in depth with the relationship between Josh and Laura Jean. I think the movie focused much, much more on Peter and Laura Jean, whereas like in the book there was like kind of this like tug of war,
Right.
Yeah.
because at one point like Josh tells her that he likes her and he kisses her,
Yes.
and then that's when she realizes that she likes Peter and
Right.
not him.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like the Josh stuff in the book was definitely more complicated. It's kind of interesting because, again, I saw the movie first. And in the movie, you know, obviously they cast people who are like really charming. So I was like immediately like charmed by Josh. And then, you know, he has the benefit of like actually having a relationship with Laura Jean before anything. You know, like they were friends before. And even after he became Margot's boyfriend, they like still hung out and stuff. So I was like kind of more team him, but then obviously like Peter won me over. But in the book, it's more interesting because there's much more of like a love triangle feel, just because they do actually bring in more of the like, well, how does Josh feel about Laura Jean, especially after he gets the letter and finds out that she's been like holding a torch for him, or at least used to have a huge crush on him. So, I mean, yeah, that was pretty intense.
So, what did the casting match up to your expectations, Catherine, since you read the book before you watched the movie?
I feel like I was fine with all of the girls because I was like, that's awesome. Obviously, they casted Asian Americans and were very firm about that. So I thought that was amazing. I feel like the casting lived up to my expectations, except for Peter. I was not sure about. That one was the only one, just because I, for some reason in my head, had assumed that he kind of looked just like a typical Josh. Like, Jock, sorry.
Josh?
I know. Whoa, what's happening? Okay. But I was thinking more like Abercrombie, you know? Like, that was kind of the look I was seeing in my head. So when I saw the trailer, I was like, nah, I'm not really sure about this guy. So, but I mean, obviously now it's like, I'm cool with it.
I have an interesting trivia about that. So Noah Centineo, who plays Peter Kavinsky, he and Israel Broussard, who plays Josh, neither of them knew which part would go to them.
Oh.
So, like, they did a chemistry test with Lana Condor, who plays Laura Jean in the movie, and like the casting director like thought that Israel was going to play Peter Kavinsky just from like gut feeling, but then Noah Centineo like did really, really great with the chemistry scene with chemistry test with Lana Condor. So they're like, he's Peter.
Right.
And the funny thing is, like, Noah and Israel are friends, so they were like talking about it like while they were on set, and being like, "Yeah, I was okay with like playing the other role. Like, it could have been either of us."
Yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I feel like I read something recently about that too, where like, or watched an interview, and I think they were saying it was like the same thing. Yeah, they did the chemistry test, and then they're like, okay, definitely Noah and Lana. And then they said that Janelle and Israel had like a good, like they vibed together too. So they're like, I guess it worked out in the end. Yeah. That, you know.
Right.
I just remembered a really big change in the movie from the book, and it's how the letters got sent out.
Yes.
Because, okay, so Kitty in the movie is like this precocious, charming little 9-year-old. Whereas in the book, she's like
a brat.
She's a complete brat.
Yeah, like in the definitely that was a big surprise for me too, from going from movie to book, because I really like Kitty in the movie because it's kind of like she's like written to be played that way.
Yeah, she's like a snarky little
like she's a
smart
brat,
ass.
but like a cute brat because she's so precocious and like clearly like, you know, smarter than her age would suggest, all this stuff. And then in the book, she just comes off a lot younger. So like
she's very much a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
Like, maybe a little bit mature for a 9-year-old, but like she's definitely like a 9-year-old. And like in the book, she sends out the letter out of spite instead of being like, oh, I want my older sister to have a boyfriend, so I don't have to take the bus every day.
Yeah. Her and Laura Jean have more of like, I guess, what you would expect from like a sibling relationship. Like, it's a little bit more antagonistic is what it feels like in the book. Like, they still love each other, obviously, but that's what it felt like. Whereas in the movie, it's more like loving sort of teasing, you know? Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was the surprise, was the intent behind sending out the letters was very different.
Because in the book, Kitty sends out the letters because Laura Jean teases her, saying like, "Oh, you like Josh?"
And she gets really mad about it.
Yeah, she gets really embarrassed, and that's why she sends out the letters.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh my god, I would kill my sister.
Definitely.
It was really weird for me to read this book because I'm the only girl in my family. I have 2 younger brothers, so like just reading about sisters like sharing clothes and doing each other's makeup and hair, I was like, wow, this is
world.
I was like, this has actually happened? This sounds like way too nice. Like you can just go to someone's closet and just steal their outfit. And
I mean, that is 100% true for me and Catherine. Mostly I steal her clothes.
That's true. Sometimes I will look for something that I want and she is wearing it. So.
Yeah, not today though. Today I'm wearing all my own clothes.
Yeah. But, I mean, I guess sisters are just weird, you know? It's just like a weird thing, I feel like. It's like people who are like really like do not like their siblings, and then there's like ones where like they're, I guess, like us, where we're like
we get along.
But I just remember like it's like, I guess it's just like that age that you're at, because I feel like we didn't get along that much when we were younger.
Yeah. So we have like a 4-year age difference, and then I mean, I do distinctly remember when I was like 11 really resenting Catherine. But it was like because my parents used to take, or our parents used to make me take her everywhere.
That's true.
So it's like if I was going to like a friend's birthday party, they'd be like, well, ask them if you can bring your sister.
That's true.
So I think I resented stuff like that. So I guess that's like a little bit, I feel like that's kind of my feeling about book Laura Jean and Kitty. You know, where it's this whole like, well, now that you're the oldest, you have to take Kitty to school, you know, sort of thing. So like there's a little bit more antagonism, I feel like, between them. But I feel like it's that age, because after that, like, we were pretty chill.
I feel like it was fine, but like we'd still have fights and stuff, like when you're
about
in high
dumb
school
things.
And things. Yeah, but I feel like we got to the point that we are at now. It was like after she left for college, because I think then you get like that space, you know, like like, you know, because for me, I technically have never lived by myself before until she left. So I feel like, you know, then you just kind of like realize like, oh, you know, like this is what it's like to be on your own, or like, you know, whatever. But
yeah, I would say like Margot and Laura Jean's relationship, it's a little bit unusual because they don't have a mother, and like it's kind of like a semi mother-daughter relationship. Yeah. And because like they're so close together, like once they're separated, it's like you start realizing, I guess, like all the stuff that you've been holding in, it like suddenly just blows up.
Especially like one of the things that like comes into that big fight at the end in the book with Laura Jean and Margot is that like Laura Jean's like, well, Margot would never keep any secrets from me, you know, like even though Margot takes like this sort of motherly role for the whole family, it's still that whole like, oh, but she's my older sister and we're so close, and after our mom passed away, like both of us, you know, both of us became like a team in terms of like taking care of Kitty and our dad and stuff. So when she finds out like that Margot does have some secret things that she has not told her, she like feels really like hurt by it,
Yeah,
but then
like,
she
really
like
betrayed by
but then
it.
she like holds it in because she's like, oh well, it's none of my business anyway. I guess I don't know my sister that well. But then that obviously comes back around in the end when things go bad.
One thing I really, really liked about the book was just like how it captured like a 16-year-old girl's like feelings, like how it feels to like crush on someone so hard and like expecting them to like never like you back. And just like having all these daydreams about them and like having like all these intense feelings. And like, I don't know, like, did you guys feel that fluffy feeling when you were reading the book?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like, you know, you start it and you're just kind of like in.
Yeah.
Like, quick, you know, and it's just like, because you are just in it so quickly, you're like reading it so fast. So it's like you're getting those feelings, I feel like, as fast as she is, or, you know, whatever.
When I was like, there are like scenes where the actual letter shows up, like
Oh my
in
God.
handwriting.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm just like, I feel like I'm reading something really private.
Yeah, I had like such intense, like, again, since I was hearing an audiobook, it was like someone was reading them to me, and I was like, oh my gosh, if this was what was in my letters and my sister sent them out to like the people I was crushing on, I would die. Like, I would just never go back to school.
You're just too intense.
Yeah.
I would be like, I'm moving.
Moving away.
I mean, like her
happening.
response to just like the letters get sent out and Josh confronts her and her reaction is just like, oh, I have a boyfriend. It's like, it's all good.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to worry about that letter because I have someone else that I like. And then she just jumps on Peter and like makes out with him in the hallway. But in the movie, she like makes out with him in the track field.
Right.
Yeah.
But like when I was watching the movie, I was like, huh, I wonder if that's actually what happened in the book or they're just like dramatizing it.
The book is actually more dramatic in this case, I feel like.
Yeah,
I was
definitely.
like, oh, the track scene was actually more realistic.
I mean, like there's a scene where she rolls out of her window.
That is like my favorite scene.
In the movie.
Like, when it happened, I was like, oh my god, she's dead. Like, she didn't make that. You know, because like everyone's like, oh well, the fall wasn't that like it wasn't that high, and I'm like, it doesn't matter. You don't know if there's bushes down there. It's concrete.
Yeah.
Like how, and you know, she fell and then she like popped up, got on a bike, and went to the cafe. Like that is crazy. Like she had no injuries.
That was such a great moment though, because I totally thought, I was just like, oh haha, she's like climbing out the window. So I was like, oh, you know, maybe she's just gonna like you know,
Like have a rope ladder
yeah, or like safely like
maneuver down.
herself down off the roof. But it was like she lost her footing and just rolled off the
That was
side.
crazy.
I mean, in the book, she pretty much just like runs out the back door and she
Yeah.
like hides out in her treehouse. Definitely not rolling out of her window and like hoping that she doesn't break her neck. in the process.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, considering how embarrassing like the whole letter situation is, I can't say I wouldn't have done the same.
Same.
Like the feelings were so intense.
Yeah.
I would have been like, oh no, I just need to get out of the situation.
Yeah, I definitely would have rolled out the window. Even if I might have died.
I mean, speaking of embarrassment, that hot tub video that
Yeah.
gets sent out, I thought in the movie, I was like, dang, that's really bad.
Yeah.
Like I would, like being a teenager nowadays sucks. Like
Yeah.
everything's like publicized. But when I was reading the book, I was like, dang, this is worse. In the book, it is so much worse. Like the cyberbullying.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, I know. It's like hard to be a kid these days, I think. It's easier for you to like get caught.
Yeah, you just can't do anything almost. That's what it feels like. Just because, like,
It's so easy.
someone's watching.
Yeah, it's
you know?
so easy for someone to like get material on you, even
Yeah.
if it's like something innocent, you know, or like not anyone's business. But yeah, in the book it was pretty bad.
In the book, like she gets turned into a meme, and it's like shared not just in her school, but like all throughout like the county, pretty
Yeah.
much, because all the other high schools like know about it,
Right.
and they're remixing it and posting it like on the internet, and pretty much the way they get it down is Peter threatens a naughty bitch, the Instagram user who uploaded it.
Oh, yes.
He's like, my uncle is a lawyer and he's gonna like shut that down. And like Laura Jean's like, is your uncle actually a lawyer? He's like, no, he's a piece of delivery guy.
It just sucks. Like, because, you know, it's like the internet never forgets.
Yeah.
So like, I know one of the main complaints about the movie was the casting of Laura Jean, because Laura Jean is mixed race. Like her dad is white and her mom is Korean. Did you guys have any like feelings about the casting when you first heard about it?
I honestly didn't.
Were you just happy that an Asian girl
Pretty much.
was-
I'm not like
That's
picky when it
the
comes
lowest.
to these things.
I know, it's a very low bar.
Yeah. Like, I just think it's cool, you know? Like, and it's cool that they got, like, Lana, who's, like, full Vietnamese, I think, right? And so, like, I think that's cool, because I know the other thing is always, like, people get mad when they cast, like, biracial people in roles when they think it should go to, like,
Oh, you mean like Henry Golding?
yes,
in
that's
Asians?
exactly, that is what I'm referring
Yeah,
to.
I think one of our friends was like, oh, whoa, they cast a full Asian in a role that was mixed race?
Yeah.
They're like, that almost never happens. Usually a mixed race person will get cast in like a full Asian role.
Yeah. So I mean, I obviously don't have a problem with any of it, because I just feel like, you know, like, we don't see this ever really, so why complain? And I think my thing too was like, in terms of like Henry Golding, at least I was like, he like looks Asian though. Like, I feel like when I look at him, I'm like, oh yeah, he definitely looks Asian, more so than like, you know, other biracial people who look like they could be more like white, or, you know, whatever.
Yeah, like features and
Yeah.
whatnot. Yeah, I mean, like the girl on the cover of
Right.
To All the Boys I Loved Before, like she is exactly how I pictured Laura Jean to be. And, you know, it's kind of sad that she's not an actress.
Right,
'cause, like,
right.
I want you
Yeah.
to play her.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like a lot of people were complaining about the casting, and in a perfect world, yeah, I would have preferred it if the role went to a mixed race girl who is like part Asian, part white. But unfortunately, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
But like I think Lana Condor did an amazing job. Like
Yeah.
I think she really brought life into the character, and she's also an adoptee.
Yeah, she
I
is.
believe so. So it's not like she doesn't understand what it feels like to
Exactly.
be raised in
Like a mixed family.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, she was great. I feel like like I said, I don't really have any strong feelings, I guess, like in terms of like, oh, I had this person in mind to play this role. So I feel like with her, like she was perfect to me.
Yeah.
That's another thing in the book, like because like her mom is Korean, her dad is like always trying to like incorporate their Korean culture into their family lives, and I'm just like, dang, like her dad tries really hard. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's so easy to just like not give a fuck and just be like, okay, this is like, we're only going to eat white people food and like only
Yeah.
celebrate white holidays.
Yeah, I think it's sweet that he like tries to keep them in touch with that part of
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
heritage, you know?
And it's like nice that like they go see their grandmother like pretty often, and like they watch Korean soap operas together.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, in the book, it's more like there's more of that, of the like keeping in touch with their Korean side. So it's like I kind of wish there was a little more of that in the movie, but like you said, this movie's like the book feels more like this coming of age, like family drama with
and the
romance.
movie is like more romance.
Yeah, the movie is like, no, this is a teen rom-com. So I understand like the changes they made, you know, to like streamline everything. And I love the movie, so
I watched the movie 3 times since we
did
last
too.
talked. Yeah.
Like once every day.
But like I was talking to Catherine earlier because I read the second book and I was so mad. Like,
I have not read the
because it
second
kind
book.
of ends on a cliffhanger.
Oh no!
I mean, it's an ending, but it's kind of like cliffhanger-ish.
You're just like, why? Especially because, remember, at this time, there were only 2. It was supposed to only be 2 books. So to me, I was like,
This can't be the end.
Joking? Like, this is not the end. There is definitely more to this. So,
I mean, so that's interesting too. So I have not read the second book, but that was the other thing, was that like the book for the first book actually ends on like a more unresolved note than the movie does, which makes sense because again, movie has to be more like complete. So I feel like, so since I saw the movie before, I was expecting the book to end like roughly around where the movie ends, with that kind of like that level of resolution. But I was so surprised that the first book actually ends on a more open-ended note, because she realizes her feelings about Peter, but she does not actually go to him.
Yeah, it's kind of like Inception, where with the top spinning.
Yeah.
Like, are you in a dream or are you not in a
Yeah.
dream? Like, is she gonna go after Peter or is it gonna happen?
Yeah, so I remember I was surprised by that.
That was why I bought the second book, like literally an hour after we
Yeah.
finished the first book.
I remember when I finished it, it was one of those, you're like, wait, what? And then you like go back 2 pages and you read it again, and then you're like, wait, what? And then you do it again. Like, you know, you do like for like
no
5
more?
minutes. I just keep going, doing the same thing, like wishing that they'd magically appear.
Yeah, like in the second book, like John Ambrose McLaren,
Yep.
right? And McLaren, is that
Yeah,
his last name?
it is.
Yeah, he's like a
Huge.
major character.
Huge
and
part.
Oh, interesting.
I would say there's more parts with him than with Peter.
Definitely, which was why I was like annoyed at how the second book ended, because I was like, what? Like, you know, I was like, I felt like I didn't get enough Peter in this book, and now this book is over. Like, what
there
is
might
happening?
not be any more.
Yeah, what is happening? I was like, this is not okay.
But there was a third book.
Yeah, but I had to wait
But,
for it.
but like you didn't know at the
exactly,
time.
I didn't know. I thought it was done, and I was like, well, that sucked. Not that the book was bad, you know, I liked it. It was just, I personally did not feel like I had resolution.
Jenny Han is like really good at like ending her book on such like a
Yeah.
like not a cliffhanger, because
'Cause
like
they're
you can't-
endings,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
an ending, but it's like you want
More.
Yeah, it's not an ending that you want personally.
it's
You're just like, no.
You gotta tell me more.
Keep writing. Like, I need more.
It's like when you're watching a movie and like the couple finally like get together, but it's just like a kiss and
Yeah.
you don't see the wedding and you're like,
Right.
no,
Yeah.
like I really want to see
Yeah.
what happens next.
So you're like,
But-
I've, you know, been with these people for so long.
Right.
You know, and then it just ends and you're like, wait, that wasn't it. There's more.
trying to think, is there anything else we need to cover? Oh, Genevieve. Yeah, that's
Oh.
right. Genevieve in the movie and Genevieve in the book are, I mean, they're similar, but I feel like in the book she's more
I don't remember.
like like in the book I felt a little bit more sympathetic towards her because maybe I got more context to
Right.
who she was.
Right.
Whereas in the movie I'm just like, oh, you're just a mean girl.
Yeah.
A mean, pretty
Yeah. I
girl.
Yeah, you could understand more of like who she is because you know a little bit more of like her like own personal stuff. And I think that's why it also helps with like the whole like Peter stuff with her, where you're, because you know in the movie you're just kind of like, why you're an idiot, like why do you keep talking to her, like, you know, whatever. Even though I get it, right, like he said, like we have history, so like those feelings won't go away, so I get that. But then in the book I feel like you kind of understand it a little bit more. I mean, I could be mixing.
I mean, like
my-
with the first, I mean, in the second book, you
Right.
realize what happens to Genevieve,
Right.
but I'm going to spoil that. But
Yeah.
but I'll talk about that later. But like in the first book, Genevieve, it really sets the groundwork to like what Laura Jean and Genevieve were as best friends.
Right.
It's just like, oh, like they used to hang out a lot together, and eventually they grew apart. And in the second book, you realize like it's because of Peter that they stopped being friends. And actually, in the movie, when she says like, oh, it like you kissed Peter, and that's why like
Right.
yeah,
That's
like,
why we're not friends anymore.
that's why we're not friends anymore. And like Laura Jean jokes saying, "There's no tongue in that kiss." And
Right.
It's like a spin the bottle kiss.
Yeah.
And she's just like, "Well, it had tongue in it for me."
Yeah.
Like that kind of comes off as like like slapdash humor
Right.
in the movie, but in the book, like it's a kind of a similar scene where she says like, "Oh, you kissed Peter, you knew that I liked him," and blah blah blah. But like in the book, it actually feels like kind of heartbreaking.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas in the movie, it's like, "Oh, haha, that's like
Yeah,
so
she's
funny
just
that
being
she held
crazy.
this."
like
Right.
like you're so petty to like hold on to
Yeah.
this. Yeah. But yeah, in the book, yeah, there's like more context, which always helps.
Yeah,
with-
yeah. There's more context, and like you kind of feel for Genevieve because like you in the first book you don't know what's happening in her family, but you get a sense that like not everything is okay,
Right.
and that like Peter has always been a constant for her,
Right.
Whereas like in the movies, it's just like, oh, she's just
just a
playing
mean girl.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, in the movie, I guess it's like they try to at least hint at it a little bit, I would say, in that part, that confrontation, because she does say like, oh, like, you know, I'm not as mean as I make myself seem.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like, obviously it's not a lot, but
Yeah.
it's like kind of like a little bit like, just because I'm like a mean girl doesn't mean I'm actually mean. Like,
Right.
I liked how like both in the book and the movie, Peter, like he does come across as insecure because like he's like this like Mr. Popular guy,
Yeah.
Right.
But like you learn that he's really like, I guess he has like this trauma with his dad like
Right.
leaving, so he's kind of like, oh, I can't take rejection
Yeah.
Yeah.
that well, and he's always like constantly trying to I mean, he's kind of an attention hogger in like
Yeah.
in like a mean way. like I'll say like he's like vain, but
Right.
he's vain in a way where he's just like, I don't want people to leave me. I don't
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
people to like leave out of my life, and I think that's why he meshes with Laura Jean so well, because Laura Jean has like her whole like my mom passed away before I was grown up, and you know, people can just leave whenever they want, and that's why she writes love letters and not get into actual relationships.
Right.
Which I thought was like, that's such a teenage thing to do.
Yeah, it's like writing in your diary, you
It's
know?
like writing fan fiction, you know? like fan fiction of your life.
But yeah, I like that that's why I appreciated like in the movie, like all the like serious conversation moments they had. Cause it's like cute, but then it really gets into like why these two people in a fake relationship would start developing like deeper feelings. Cause they both are, like you said, afraid of losing people because they've had this like big loss in their lives, you know? So I like that. Peter does come across as more vain in the book, though. I would say.
definitely. I mean, it's a really cute book, and
Yeah.
I would be lying if I said, "Oh, I'm done with the books," because I'm probably going to reread them like a whole bunch of times.
Just like watching the movie.
I'm really curious about whether or not they're going to make a sequel to this movie, because John Ambrose McLaren, God, I hate his name. It's like it's so mouthy, and I like never remember it. Yeah, I just like wonder what's going to happen with that storyline.
yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, Netflix is just toying with our feelings at this point. I feel like they're
I
going
mean,
to
they
do it.
hinted it at like
Yeah.
the credits.
Like, they're definitely going to do these next two books. I just know
They have
it.
to.
Just
I mean,
because
they already like did like the first maybe 50 pages of the second book,
Right.
because the first book ends just
Right.
like on
Yeah.
that love letter that she writes. So
But I think I read somewhere that the director did say that the cast and crew are signed on for a sequel. Like, they've already had that in
In their
the
contracts.
contract, like when they were making this first one. So it's just a matter of Netflix greenlighting it. And I also like the director also mentioned that both Lana and Noah were like, we want to make this thing, like, we want to do it fast because we can't be
Age.
like, yeah, we can't be teens like forever. So I think I think in that article, or maybe it was something else that I read, was that they were saying that if it does go through, they're going to film them back to back.
Oh,
I mean, that would be
sense.
smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Netflix.
I mean, they're already like, Peter Kavinsky, like the actor Noah Centineo, he does not look like he's in high school.
Yeah.
Looks like he's like in his mid to late 20s. No 16-year-old boy looks
Like, I will definitely say in the movie, he does look younger, like, than he does, like, regular in real life. But it is true, no 16-year-old looks like that.
It's the CW effect.
It is.
Oh my gosh. But backtracking a little bit, since I have not read the second book, but the John Ambrose thing was interesting because in the first book, there's more of a thing with him, like a plot thing, because she actually sees him in the first book.
Yeah, she actually seeks him out.
Yeah.
In the first book.
Yeah. So, and there's like, she kind of goes, because, you know, in the movie, it obviously focuses on her crush on Josh and her crush on Peter because they're there. So it kind of just like, she kind of just glances over the other letters. But in the book, it was interesting to me because since I expected it to just gloss over the other letters, it was interesting that John Ambrose actually came up as much as he did. Because then like she and Peter actually like have a conversation about him, and then at like a middle point in the book, their school's like either her school or another local like high school is having one of those like
Model UN
events, and then she was like, well, I'm just gonna go and see if he's there, and like she actually does see him, and so it's kind of like there's more going on there, and so I was like,
See, that part I was like, huh, like she should have just Facebook stalked him. Like she didn't have to like go in person to like go
but
find
I guess
him.
she just like really needed to know. I guess maybe like to see, you know, because it's like it's been so many years or whatever.
Yeah, and she did just go being like, I don't even know he's gonna be there. I'm just gonna go. And I was like, okay.
Oh, random question.
Oh, yeah.
Have you guys ever written in a diary? Or, because, like, you know how, like, Laura Jean, like, gushes out her feelings through love letters? Like, have you guys, like, written diaries or...
I did when I was, like, I want to say, like, in 4th grade. Okay, it's interesting. So, in the summers, my parents used to force me to write in journals. Like, I would have to write a journal entry a day over the summer. So, obviously, that was, like, nothing personal. No one ever read them because it wasn't like my parents were, like, checking my... self-assigned homework. But I know in like maybe I don't know 4th or 5th grade I like got an actual like diary, so I definitely wrote in that. But I don't know if I wrote anything as intense as like Laura.
Did you ever write love letters to your crushes?
I did not write love letters to my crushes. I'm pretty sure I wrote about things like, oh, so and so was like so annoying today. Like things about my friends or
Probably
like
me.
boring stuff. Probably wrote about Catherine.
Definitely.
No fancy Valentine's Day chocolates.
No fancy Valentine's Day chocolates.
I did not write. I think it was like one of those things where I knew she had like a journal or a diary, and so as a little sister, I was like, oh, I want one too. But I like never wrote in it. That's like, I think that's like how we're different, you know, like you like read a lot, you like do poetry stuff, like whatever. I like was not about it. I was like,
Ravenclaw, Slytherin.
yeah, I was just like, okay, now I have it, but what am I doing with it? Like, what do I write? Like, you know, so I did not. I think I might have like written like 2 pages in like a little journal that I had, but it was probably like nothing. I just felt like I needed to because she was doing it.
So you guys were the type to like never confess to your crushes or anything like that.
Oh my god, no, never.
Oh my God.
Never.
I feel like it's just such a weird thing when you're young. You know, you just don't know how to tell people things. And so I feel like for me too, it wasn't like people.
I'm 100% about avoidance. I avoided so many people who were like trying to ask me out in like middle school.
I feel like I tried to do that too, that same approach. But it was also one of those things where I feel like none of the people that I knew for a fact liked me because like their friends would tell me or like, you know, whatever. Like they never came up to me and told me either. Mm-hmm. You know? So it's always one of those weird things where it's like almost like
no one's willing to make the first move.
But then like you kind of both know that you like each other or type of thing, you know? So then
someone had to send out your love letter.
Yeah, though I did not write any. Let's be clear here. I did not
That's
write
why it
any
never
letters.
happened.
Yeah, but then I also feel like I didn't really have like that
Intense
many
crushes.
on people in those years of my life.
Yes. What about you?
What about me? I've never written love letters, but I've definitely went to a school where people did that. And
interesting.
it's like super embarrassing because I like never, like it's never like one person sending it out to like the person that they like. It's always like this like weird like Congo
telephone.
line. Yeah, they're just like, here, pass to this person. And I'm just like, just go up to them. And, like,
They know it's gonna be
It's
from
like-
you ultimately.
It's like that scene in Harry Potter, like the Goblet of Fire, where Hermione, you know, they're like, Ron told me that Pravati
yeah.
told him that
Yeah,
blah, blah,
yeah,
blah,
yeah.
blah. And then she
'Cause they
keeps
were
going back and
fighting.
forth, and then she's just like, just tell him yourself.
or like you sneaked a love letter into someone's locker.
right. Yeah.
Lockers were there just for that. To, like,
They're like
sneak in.
mailboxes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like weird because like when you're reading this book, you're just like, I never did that as a kid.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I like never had those intense crushes, but obviously like some people have. So it was
Yeah.
like nice for me to like live vicariously
Yeah.
through Laura Jean.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, oh, I believed when I was 16 years old that love is dead and relationships are fake and monogamy never works. And I knew in high school that if anybody asked me out, I would turn them down immediately because I'm like, it's high school. Nothing lasts forever.
You're very practical.
Yeah.
It was very, very practical. And that is why the person that I am with now, like, I told him in the very beginning that, like, I don't believe in relationships. So, like, yeah, I was very, very cynical up until, like, my early to mid 20s. So it's like really weird reading this book. I mean, like, oh, this girl reads a lot of romance novels, and she's like,
Right.
really?
She was ahead of her time.
Yeah, she's ahead of her time.
Yeah, I was not reading romance novels at that age.
I read a lot of romance fan fiction growing
I
up.
did probably read
Yeah.
some romance fan
I read a
fiction.
lot of Harry Potter fan fiction. Yeah. Well, with
Who
that-
didn't?
Yeah, who didn't, really? Well, with that said, thank you so much for talking with me about this movie and also the book. Like, I really wanted to share, like, my feelings about, like just, like, compare the movie and the book together. But, like, not a lot of people have done both. So I'm really
Yeah.
glad that you guys agreed to be on this podcast.
I'm glad this like forced me to finally read the book because I've
Yeah.
been meaning to forever.
I mean, I just need to reread them because clearly I don't remember anything.
We watched the movie together at the Netflix screening.
Yes.
And immediately after the movie ended, I like cornered
Yes.
Catherine. And I was just like, what happens here? Like, it's like, is this like this in the book?
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah. Is there more elaboration
And I was
on
like,
this?
you know what? I don't remember.
and that was how we decided that we should do a podcast on
Yes.
this, because there were so many questions that
Many.
I wanted answered, and Catherine could not provide
Sorry.
them.
Yeah. It's been a long time.
Jenny Han would be so disappointed in you.
I know. I'm just not very good at remembering. This is my problem with all reading. If I need to wait, a year between things, chances are I probably forgot most things. I'll work on it.
Yes, work on it for the next book and the next movie. Netflix calling you
it.
out. Do it.
Yeah. All right. And that's a podcast.
Thank you.
And I hope you enjoyed the Books and Boba discussion of To All the Boys I've Loved Before. Again, the book is by Jenny Han and available in all bookstores now, part of a trilogy of books. And the movie is available for streaming on Netflix. Once again, this podcast is a proud member of the Potluck Podcast Collective, a collective of Asian American hosted podcasts featuring unique stories and narratives from all around the Asian American community. If you like this show, check out one of the other great Potluck podcasts, including the Collabcast, first of all, and They Call Us Bruce. The last episode of They Call Us Bruce was a special episode where they interviewed John Cho live. John Cho, of course, the star of the movie Searching, in theaters now and part of the Asian August slate of films. Check out They Call Us Bruce and the other great Potluck podcasts by going to the website at podcastpotluck.com. And don't forget that our September Books and Boba book club pick is Number One Chinese Restaurant by Lillian Lee. We'll be discussing that book at the end of the month. If you've already finished it, please join the discussion on our Goodreads group. And don't forget to check out booksandboba.com for more information on the book club and our picks. And on that note, this has been Books and Boba. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye.